see the. Is the sound okay? Can you hear me?
Can hear a lot of traffic.
Yeah, but I don't think it's me. That's better. Yeah?
Yeah, loads.
Okay, perfect. So let's start. So thank you to be in my session. My session is about, I call Power Portal, Advanced Technique Feedback from a Real-World Project. So my name is Gilles Pomier. I'm an Office 365 consultant, and you've got my email address and my LinkedIn. I'm a MVP. I was an MVP in Office 365, and since this year, I'm an MVP on business application. And I'm managing, so I come from France, in Montpellier, in the south of France. And we've got a Microsoft user group, and we already did some presentation in French on the Power Apps portal. So some context first about this session. First of all, this is a real-world feedback project with a project that I did with a team for 5 months, I would say, since January. And this is a French team. We are remote. We are five people. We have 2 Power BI experts, 1 HTML designer, and 1 SharePoint Office 365 expert. It's me. And but we didn't have any Power Apps portal expert. We didn't have any Dynamics expert, and there was not Dynamics business needs. That means that I'm not a Dynamics expert. So what I want to show you today is the way that we did this project, which was a portal with some business needs and technical needs, and what we found from the different technical things, technical issue that we had, and I want to share with you today what we did. So this maybe it's not the best practice, because I'm listening as you are doing since this morning, all the sessions, and I've learned a lot on my side. So I see that we can do some things better, but that was real world scenarios and real world business needs, and the solution that we found was working great. So that's why I want to share with you. So why we decided to choose Power Apps Portal for this project? The main reason was users need a web solution, a portal. There was the need of external users with custom authentication. Mostly users come from they had Gmail address. We need a lot of Power BI integration and also SharePoint integration. And you see here there is screenshot of the portal that we did. I cannot show you this portal today because it will be in production this month and it's still a little bit confidential. But you see that's the goal of the portal. There were authenticated people had to connect, and then they have so sorry it's in French, but they had some Power BI reports on the home page. And so this is something important. On the bottom left, they can choose a specific client and then choose a client to see the report of the client. So I will talk about that later because it's something a little bit important for this project. So what I did for this session, I tried to share with you how 10 top tips that we have for this project. Just the purpose of this session is that if you start a new Power Apps portal project and you are not coming from Dynamics, but if you coming from Dynamics, that's okay. But if you are new to Power Apps portal project, maybe you will find some solution here, some tips that can be useful because that's the things that we use on our project. So the 10 top tips that I want to share with you today will be this one. First, what tools did we use? Then how to filter data for current user. Then talk about the SharePoint integration. For example, there was a business needs that open files with Office Web. Then I will talk about the Power BI integration. There was a business need to create users in advance and send information to the user that they can connect to the portal. Then we had to find a solution to create the multi-page forms. Some tips about add JavaScript and custom action and how to use the JavaScript in the portal, the GS files. Some liquid tips, because of course, when you are working with a portal, you have to deal with the liquid language. Some best practices that we use to work together as a team, because we were 3, 4 or 5 people working on this portal at the same time. And the last part will be the custom error logging and trace. So first, this is an easy one. The first tip was, what tools did we use? So as I told you, as I'm not a Dynamics CRM expert, we had to find the tools that was very useful, and there was only one, which was XRM Toolbox. So this is the tool that we use. It is free, you can install it. And the module that we use in this tool were this one. The first one was the portal code editor. We love the portal code editor in XRM Toolbox because it was easy to use. You have separate the content with the JavaScript, the content and the CSS. So if you just want to see the JavaScript, then you click on the page and the JavaScript, and then you've got the JavaScript for this page. You see that there is the different colors. So the colors, there is colors, for example, here, if there is language in liquid, or if you use JavaScript, so it's more easier to read. And we really, I know that you can use different tools to do your JavaScript, but we prefer to use the portal code editor of XRM Toolbox. The second one we used was the Fetch XML builder. So of course, if you are a Dynamics expert, you know this tool, but we've learned how to use this tool. The Fetch XML builder is interesting because you can query your CDS and get the data and do filters and things like that. So it is very interesting. Then you can copy your query if you want to reuse, for example, with Power Automate. Next one we used was the Portal Web File Explorer. This one we used because we wanted to have the opportunity to add multiple files at the same time. You know that with the out-of-the-box portal in the configuration, you can add files one by one. So with this tool, we were able to add multiple files at the same time. So that's why we were using, for example, to upload pictures or to upload JavaScript, JS file. And the last one we used a lot was the record counter. So it's a very simple one, but it's very easy. You just check your entities, your CDS entities, and then you click on get count, and you've got the number of entries in your entities. So this is a very useful tool. So this first tip is very easy, of course, if you're already Dynamics expert. But if you are not, then I have to learn this tool and I have to find this tool. And this is one of my MVP friend, Tanguy Touzard, who was creating this project. I think it was 10 years ago. So this was the first one. The second tips was we had to find a way to filter data for current users with complex business needs. So I will try to explain the business needs that we need for the data filtering. So we use the out-of-the-box contact entity to create all the users. And we had to create 2 custom entities, the companies. So a contact, we have a special field because a contact belongs to a company. And the goal of this application was to do interviews. So interviews for user that are from a company. So this is a very simple entities that we used, but the needs that the business needs that was added was this one. The users can see all the entities, so they can see all the companies and the interviews, but they can choose on the first screen to see a specific company, and so they need to see the interviews only for this company. So if I show you a table, if I'm John, and there is the interviews entities, there is all the interviews that are available in these entities, and John can potentially see all the interviews from all the companies. But on the first screen, if he chooses one company, then John can be able to see only the interviews from this company. So for us, it was a difficult one to find the solution, because we tried to do with the security, and it was not working because it was not a security issue. It was a filtering issue. We need to filter, and the filter was not directly with contact. The filter was with the contact from the user settings that the user has chosen on the first screen. Just show you back the first screen. It was working like that in the portal. In the first screen, you see when John is logging, he can select a customer. So if he selects a customer, I must show him only the data from these customers. I must filter him the data, and I don't want that he has a filter on the screen. I have to filter for him all the data. So for this one, the solution that we found was the view with the CDS. But as if you already use the view with the CDS, you see that the view with the CDS are very simple if you want to filter. If you want to filter, you just can filter with you can filter interview with your user and nothing else. But if you want to filter with a complex query, then we found this solution. So it is an article that has been done 3 years ago. So that's why it was difficult for us, because as we are not dynamics experts, we need to find some articles that was written a long time ago to solve our issue. And in this article, so there is the link of this article. In this article, the goal was to create a dummy contact. So in my case, this contact is called portal filter. And then when I have created the dummy contact, then I can create my complex view in the CDS, in the Common Data Service, and do a filter with this contact. So you see that this is the filter from the view from the CDS. So the filter comes from the customers, and then from the parameters, and with the users, I put here my dummy user, my virtual user here. And when the user is connecting at a train time, automatically at train time, the user will be replaced by the current user. And that's the way we solve our problems, how to do complex query with the CDS, but still using a query to query from the user of our contact of the connected user, and that's the only way that we found to solve this solution. So maybe there is other solution, I don't know, but this solution was working for us. Next problem that we have is with the SharePoint integration, because you can find article on Microsoft documentation where you can do SharePoint integration with Power Apps Portal. So this is a tutorial that you can follow, and then you can integrate SharePoint with Power Apps Portal. And in your portal, then it's possible when you select an entity in your portal, you can manage documents. It means that you can upload documents, you can edit documents, you can delete documents. The problem that we have, because we can upload files, upload documents, but the problem that we have is when we click on the link, the business need was to open the document, the doc file, in Word online. But in Power Apps Portal, if you click on the link, the document is downloaded on your computer. And it was really a problem for our customer because he wanted because he didn't have Word and Excel on his desktop. So he really wants to have the document open in Office Web. So you see, if I put my cursor here on the document, this is the link that is provided, and if you click on this link, automatically the document will download on your computer. Just if you've never done yet the integration with SharePoint, because I'm doing SharePoint since a long time, so I was curious how it was working. Behind the scene, how it works for your entities, when you are uploading a document the first time, automatically Power Apps Portal will create a folder in your there is an entity representing your folder, representing there is a library representing your entity, and in this library, for each document that is uploaded, there is a folder that is created, and you see this folder. There is a grid here, so this is the name of the folder and the grid. So the grid is random, so you cannot guess what is the grid. And the second thing that is important to know is when you upload documents or in SharePoint, the user that I have uploaded the documents is the application users and not the portal users. So if you want to have the name of the user who has uploaded the document, you will not have the information if you go to SharePoint. So what we did, the solution that we did is something because the user, the end user wants this functionality. So this is just a quick video to show you. If we click on one folder, then we go to the documents, and if you click on the documents, automatically it will open in Word Online. And it is not by default. This is something that we have to manage and we have to create. So how did we do that? First, we saw that this is the source URL that is provided by default, and what we wanted is this URL. So we need to take this URL, and we have to find something to change this URL to put this one, because this is a SharePoint URL with the whoopiframe.spx, and with this URL, automatically the document will be open in Office Online. So the algorithm to do that, we did that in JavaScript. So I can provide you the script if you want. I don't know if we have created this one, so I don't think it exists somewhere. So if you want this script, just send me an email and I can send you the script, of course. So the script is in two parts. First, we need to get some information from the query string of the URL. That's when you click on the folder. And with the parameters in the query string, so you see here, this is liquid language to get the parameters in the URL, and this is JavaScript. So we get the ID of I think it was the ID of the folder, and then we need to do some operation just to find the SharePoint document location. And this is the first step that we have to do in our JavaScript, and the second step is this one. So this is something easy if you know how to use JavaScript. What we are doing is that we are waiting that the CSS class SP item is here, because it means that the table with the document is here. So first we have to wait for that, and when this item exists in my page, then I just do a loop for each, and I'm looking for the docx or PowerPoint or XLS. And also we did for the URL, because the end user wants also to click on the URL and automatically open the URL. So we did also for the .url files. But when we are clicking on one document, automatically the href will be replaced by the one that we have calculated. And it's the way it works, and it's the way that we can open from Power Apps portal document and open with Office Web Online. Just one thing that is important, you have to manage your SharePoint permission, of course, because if you click on the document, then it will open in SharePoint Online. But when it opens in SharePoint Online, it will open with the credential of the user. So the user must have permission to open the document in Office Web Office Online. So that's the reason for each user. I told you first it was more Gmail users, that we have to add those users to a read group in SharePoint, because if we don't do that, they will not be able to see the document in Office Online. Okay, so this is one of the tips that was very important for us, because we thought that the SharePoint integration in Power Apps Portal was better, but it is I would say there is the basics with the SharePoint integration. There is no collaboration features. There is we don't see any, I don't know, check-in, check-out and things like that. So I think for now this is the very basics integration from Power Apps Portal to SharePoint. So that's why if you have business needs with SharePoint integration, just be careful, because maybe you will not have all the features that will be available. So you have to check for that. And this one was very important for the customers. Just to show you, if we didn't find this solution, the Power Apps project, I know that the customer would have stopped the project, because it was one of the most important things that he needs. The Power BI integration. So this one is an easy one. Let me skip one. So if you want to do the Power BI integration, then you go to the portal parameters, and in the portal parameters, you can set up your Power BI integration. So if you click on enable Power BI integration, then you can put your reports in Power BI page. But what I suggest is you also enable the Power BI embedded service, because if you do the Power BI embedded service, then in your page it will be possible to put your reports and to give the authentication type Power BI embedded. And with this tag, it means that the reports will be shown and will be executed with the users, with the portal users. So it means in the context, in the authentication context, it will be the portal users and not the context of the user itself. So of course, you will need to have Power BI embedded license part, and I had experts in this project about that, so I don't know exactly what you have to pay for the licensing. But if you have external users, and those external users are not Office 365 users like we have, you must enable the embedded services then you will have the authentication type automatically available for you, and the reports will run in the context of the Power Apps portal user. Next tip that we need was to create user and send email information to connect with invitation code. So I will show you the business needs first. What was the business needs? In the portal, an administrator can create all the users in advance first. So we had a screen there where the administrator can create all the users. So he creates the users, he puts the client for the users, and then do the validation. When they validate the users, automatically the user will receive an email and with the portal registration success. And with this email, he had an access, a link that where he can click on it and access to the registration of the portal with the invitation code, something like that. So when he click on the link, then he will go to the portal, and he will go to this page, and automatically there is the invitation code that will be provided for him. So he just needs to click on register, and that's okay. That's finished. So the business need was this one, was to when a user is created, automatically an invitation code is provided, and then a mail is sent to the users with a link and the invitation code, and automatically, when you click on the link, it will go to this page and register. So for that, what we did was the following solution. First, we wanted to do this with Power Automate, because you know, when you create a new contact, of course, you can start a Power Automate that automatically, when a contact is created, and send an email, so it's working. And it's a way that you can run Power Apps, Power Automate flow, sorry, from the portal, because your flow can be launched when something happens in an entity. So if something is added in an entity, automatically you can run a Power Automate workflow. So that was the first thing that we did, is to run a Power Automate workflow to send the email to the users. The problem was for the invitation, because the invitation, it was not possible. There is no direction to send the invitation code in Power Automate. So the thing that we have done is this one, where we used the workflow, the Dynamics workflow, because in the Dynamics workflow, it was possible to create a workflow when a contact is added, when a record is created into a contact entity. And then in the Dynamics workflow, it's possible to create an invitation. So the create invitation action is something like that. You just put the email, the owner, the one you want to invite, and that's fine. You create an invitation in an entity called invitation. So this is the first step, to create the invitation code, and then we did the Power Automate workflow, because the Power Automate workflow is launched when a new invitation arrived in the entity invitation. And when an invitation arrives, then the goal is to send the email with to the users, the email with the link with the invitation code. So in the invitation code is something like this. You just have to encode the RE component, and with the invitation code that is provided with the entity, with the invitation entity. And why did we did workflow in Dynamics and another one in Power Automate? It's because in Power Automate, also, when a user is created, I have to provide that the user is registered to SharePoint. Remember that we need to when a user click on the link, he has a word link, it will open Office Online. So for that, when we create a new user, automatically we need to add this user to a specific SharePoint group. Okay, so I put this, I don't know, just check the time. Yes, we're a little bit out of time, but if you are interested is in this part, in the HTTP and this one, I will provide you my slide, and the last slide is about this process. So in the last slide, I show you how to create the users in your tenant and add the users to SharePoint Online. Okay, so let's go to the next tips. Next one is the way that we created multi-page forms. So I saw this morning with other session that there is a lot of different ways that we can create multi-page forms, but I will explain the business needs. So the business needs was the following one. This one example. So sorry, the forms are in French, but you understand what we want to do. First step is to have a forms, and then user can enter information, and then they can click on next. And when they click on next, they go to the second step, and they can choose something else, and then they can do the validation. They can submit the validation. So this is something that we have done multiple times, because we need to have something like that when we want to have, for example, 2 steps to submit a forms. But also we did this just to show you again. For this one, it is the same. The solution that we did for the choosing select a client here is just a form, and when you click on validate, we use the same solution that I will show you in these tips. So let me show you how we did that. So to do that, what we did, we didn't use the web form. We did something like that. We used the insert entity form, and in the insert entity form, we used the onSuccess settings, and the onSuccess settings, we are doing a redirection, and we redirect to the next URL. And what is important is when you redirect to the URL, you just click here on append record ID to create query string. And if you click on that, then you will have the ID of the entity that has been inserted that will be available automatically when you click on next. When you click on next, it will call the page, and it will put the ID with the grid that has been inserted on the first step here. So with this grid, you can do what you want. You can decide to use this grid in Liquid, for example, if you want to retrieve this grid and do some operation, or you can do you can use this ID to edit entity forms to a second steps, for example. So this is the way that we did for the multi-page forms, because sometimes we need to use the ID with the Liquid section to get the ID and to do some process, or sometimes we just use an edit entity form. Okay, next one. Add JavaScript and custom action and JS files. So it was very important topic for us, because we need to provide one solution, the best one, if it was possible, to create our JavaScript, and to be sure that all the developers, all the teams will use the same process to create JavaScript. So you know that you have different solutions to create your JavaScript. So what I've decided is the best way, the best tool that we think to create JavaScript is the XRM toolbox with the portal code editor. Because we thought that it's very easy to read, so you can read your JavaScript. There is the colors. If you use Liquid, so this is a Liquid tag, then it will use another color. So we decided it was the tools that we wanted to use if you want to add JavaScript to our portal. The common use that to use JavaScript is, for example, to hide fields, but you want to put value in it. So you just want to hide fields on the forms for the users, but you want to provide some information in this field. So this is the reason why we hide some fields, but we put some information in these fields. So this is a common use for the JavaScript. And as I show you, you can mix JavaScript and Liquid. So you can mix client JavaScript and server with Liquid. The thing that is important if you use XRM Toolbox with the Portal Code Editor, if you have to save your modification, you have to publish your modification, and then you have to clear cache. So you have the URL services about that you use on your portal. You had this part on your portal, and then you can clear cache of your portal to see your modification. Next one, so this one we use to add custom action in JavaScript. So I know that there is some other way to do that, but because we had an HTML specialist in our team, it was easier for the specialist to use JavaScript in the XRM Toolbox Portal Code Editor to create the JavaScript, because it was the best solution not to go deep in the portal and the configuration. And the way that you use your custom action in JavaScript in your forms is just you use the div action tag, and then you add your button, for example. So with this line, you will have something like this. You just add a cancel button on your form, so you can do whatever you want. So I know that there is other solution to do that, but this is the one that we decide to use on with our team. Next one, of course, if you want to use JS files, then you must enable the JS extension in Dynamics, because it's not enabled by default. So if you want to enable JS in Dynamics, you have to go to the settings of Dynamics and system settings. And when you go in system settings, you just put the JS.
It's also from all over the world. So
sorry? Question? No? Okay, if you have a question, just ask. If you don't, just follow. So if you want to enable JavaScript, yeah, then you just add the JS extension in your portal. And when you add the JS extension, click on OK, and then it will be possible for you to add JS files on your portal. If you don't do that, it will not be possible to upload the JS file on your portal. So of course, this is something you have to do once, the first time. But if you don't know how to do that, and if you don't know where to go, because as I told you, as I'm not a dynamic specialist, the first thing that is not so easy for a non-specialist is to find how to go to the dynamic screen. So if you want just to add the .js extension that is enabled and available, then you first have to go to the Dynamics settings and system settings, and to add these settings to enable to upload the JS file. If you don't do that, there is an error when you upload it. So next tip is liquid tips. So it was not easy for these 8 tips, because I can talk hours and hours on liquid and do a session only on liquid. So was not the goal of this session. So what I decided is just to focus on 2 points that were very important for us. The first point that is very important is you can mix JavaScript, I mean client-side code, with server-side code, with Liquid. And it's the way it works. For example, in this example, what I want is I want to put the ID of the client in a specific text box in the portal. And the client ID, I don't know on the client side. I have to provide it on the server side. And to provide this on the server side, first, so this is here, what you see in this color, this is the liquid code. And with this liquid code, the goal is to get the user ID. And with the user ID, we are doing a query. So a query in Liquid is something like this. You put your entity, the name of the view that you want to use, and then you can do your query. And with this query, I just take the first element, and with this first element, I put the results in the client ID, but the client ID is on the client side. So this is the way it works when you want to mix JavaScript and Liquid. Okay, when I see that, also there is another thing that is very important, and I think we have lost many hours on this part, is because when you want to query and to get information from one entity in Liquid, and you use a view, you must be sure that in this view there is the field that you want to query on. If there is not the field in this view that you want to query on, then your query is not working at all. And the problem with the Liquid is when your query is not working, there is no error message, there is just nothing. So if you don't know why, and it can cost a lot of time, it's a time consuming really, because there is no error in Liquid, so it's because there is syntax error. But if the query returns nothing, then there will be no error in Liquids. So just be careful. If you use a view, you have to be sure that in this view there is all the field that you are using here in your query, because if don't, then it will not work. Next one. So I didn't know how to give a title for this one, but we found that sometimes we have to use these characters here. So these characters is the LGR7, and sometimes you need this syntax to assign a variable in Liquid. If you don't do that, it will not work. So I just want you to point that sometimes, and we need those in this query here, we need to use this character, these specific characters. So we did a brainstorming with one of my colleagues for half an hour, I would say, and she finally find this solution because it was existing in another language, and she remember it can be used also in Liquid, but there was no documentation on that. We didn't find any documentation of that. So maybe it exists, but I just want to share this with you because it was time consuming also to find a solution. Well, and the last thing with the Liquid tips is now there is the Crude Operation that is available in beta since June, July. I didn't test with this one, but you must think of this solution, because this is something very useful, and it was really a limitation of our project. It was not available on our project, so we didn't have the opportunity to use the Crude Operation. So we use Liquid only for to select information and to show information. But the improvement of the Liquid language and the usage of Crude Operation is really important in the project. And well, I didn't test so far, so I need to test if it works and how it works. I know it's in public preview, but you have to keep an eye on this part, because this is very interesting. Okay. The next one is more an organization, best practice that we did on our team, because we were working sometimes on 2, 3, or 4 people on the portal, and it was not so easy to work with multiple people on the portal. So the best practice that we use, I don't say it is the best practice, but the best practice that we use were the following one. When we have to develop or test something, we decided that each developer create one page for him and test his development on his page. And when the development is okay and tested and is okay, then then the developer can cut and paste the code in the target page. Why this one? Because we realized that it's not easy to work on the same page. If you are two developers working on the same page, then we lost codes multiple times. So that's why we decided we prefer to have our own page to do our testing, to do our development, and when the development is okay, then we can take the development and put in the target page. So this is the way that we works in our team. The main reason is that there's no history for the page. Means that if you make a mistake or if you overwrite the modification of someone else, then the modification are lost. So you have to be careful on that. So that's the reason we decided to have separate page first, and then to put everything on the target page when it's okay. And the second thing, so we're not sure about that, but I put it here because some people on my team lost perhaps portal codes. So that's why I want to put it on a slide, because I think that it can be an issue. So what we saw is that the Power Apps Portal Studio has the function here. You see that is saved automatically. And that means that when you open your Power Apps Portal Studio, even if you are doing nothing, automatically the page will be saved. That means that if someone else opened the page, then it will be perhaps Portal Studio can override the modification of someone else. And we think that the reason is that there is an automatic save. So you know that when you are working on Power Apps Portal, you've got different solutions to edit page and to modify the page. You can use XRM Toolbox, but if you use XRM Toolbox, then there is no automatic save because you have to click on Save, Publish, to publish your modification. It's the same with the portal parameters. If you do some modification, you have to click on the Save button. So there is no automatic save. And when you click on the Save button, you have to refresh the cache to get the modification. And when you use the page editor directly in the portal, there is also there is no automatic save. So you have to click on the Save button to save the code. And that's the reason why when you use those three tools, there will be no automatic save. So there is, if you are working both on the same page, then you have to deal with the other developer just to be sure that you not override this modification. But if you use the Power Apps Portal Studio, then as the save is automatic, then it can be very dangerous because it can be very fast that you can override modification of someone else because you are on the page, there is an automatic save, and the modification of the other one is lost because it's on the same page, but the Power Apps Portal Studio overrides because there is this automatic save. Then just a word about the backup, because this is very important also. You have to implement your backup strategy because the backups is not automatic. So you need to implement your strategy. If you don't do that, you can lose your code, you can lose your work. So you have to be careful. What we did on our project we use XRM Toolbox to export the code and to put in GitHub every day, because when you export with the Portal Code Editor, you have something like this with all the directories and then the content of the JavaScript and HTML, and it was enough for us. If you want to do automatic backup, then you can see I put the link on Arpit blog here. So this is a way if you want to do an automatic backup of your portal. I encourage you to do that, because the backup is very important and is not existing in Power Apps Portal. And then for the data, on our side, we decided to back up the data with the CDS functions or with Power Automate. So I think there is different way to save the data, but we prefer to use this one. And then when we are working together, of course, you must be careful when you use the service about to clear cache, because if other users are working on the portal, then you just check with them if it's okay. And then if you use the restart the portal, of course, the portal will be down for 3 or 4 minutes. So you must be synchronized with other developers if you want to restart the portal. The custom error and login trace. So this is an easy one, but it's very powerful. If you want to integrate and to do the Azure Insight in your portal, you just have to put the snippet. You have a specific function to enable traffic analytics, and you just put the snippet that is provided with Azure. And when you put the snippet and save, automatically you will have the analytics, the insights with Azure for all the users. So you can have specific needs, but by default you see all the sessions. And if you take one user, you will see the timeline of the users. So when the users connect and what is the page that the user saw. So it is very powerful, and you just need to have Azure Insight and put your snippet in your portal, and that's it. One of my last experience and tips is this one. Sometimes you can have what we call the screen of death, the Power Apps portal screen of death. So this is something like that. You can go to your portal and then you have this error. And then the first time you have this error, you don't know what to do. So we decided on our project just to do the configuration of the error log. So you've got 2 things that are important. So if you go to your portal parameters, portal actions, then you can configure your logging configuration here. You can also disable custom error to see more the error, but sometimes it doesn't work. So I suggest that you use this part. And when you configure this one, you just need to use the Azure Blob Storage to provide a link to the Azure Blob Storage. And then you will have your log like this. So when you have Power Apps portal screen of death, then if you go to your Azure and your logs, then you will see the error with more details. So it's very interesting, very important, because you will have here all the details of the error. So this is the best way to resolve the screen of death issue. Okay, so it was my last slide. So just checking the time. So we have 5 minutes left. So I don't know if there is some questions. Any question?
Excellent session, Gilles. Excellent session. Thanks for
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Maybe it's me, but I cannot hear you. So it's very low.
Yeah, it's very low again, Arpit.
So it's not me.
Can you hear me?
It's a little bit better.
Yeah, try again.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that thanks for sharing the real-time projects example. I think it will really help everyone to know how portal can be extended and customized to fit the client needs. So I think we've already discussed about a lot of out-of-box features of the portal, but sometimes, we get some complex business requirement and we, didn't even know whether anything, supported on the portal or not. But I think these tips will really help everyone to, to map their client business requirement with the Power Apps portal. So indeed,
you.
great learning from this session. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I think there is one question from Devi. If user login on the portal using third-party authentication to open the Word document on Office 365, is it going to open it?
Okay, just let me check.
Yeah. So that was related to, you were opening the SharePoint document directly in the Office 365 online, Microsoft Office online. Yeah. So it's related to that.
When the external user wanted to SharePoint, did you have asking them to Office license? No, because this is SharePoint. You know that in SharePoint you can invite external users. So for Office 65, it's not the same, because if you want to have external users and to provide some tools, then you need to have license. But for SharePoint, it's not necessary, because you can include external user like Gmail address, and automatically they will have access to your document and to open the document. We have tested with multiple Gmail address, and it was fine. So fortunately for us, because as I told you, if it was not possible, I know that the customer would have stopped the project. So yes, there is no license.
Perfect. I think we have covered all the questions.
Thank you very much. So
thanks a lot, Gilles. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the wonderful session.
Thanks. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.